Hello and welcome to another Warcraft III audio commentary. Today we're going to be watching a best of 3 series for WLW. I don't actually have much information about what WLW is. I've been asking around. Nobody really seems to know. I think it's some kind of Chinese league. It might be a tournament, but it looks to me like a Chinese league. I'm not really sure beyond that. Having said that, this is a best of 3 series from that tournament league, whatever it is. And it should be pretty good. So it's gonna be, let's go ahead and introduce the players. There are no observer slots, unfortunately, so we gotta do this way again, but whatever. So our players are WE Skyfans. So his name is basically Skyfans, like moon fans, email fans, etc. And he is spawning as the blue human in the lower left. This map is Amazonia, and we have for his opponent WFZ, the undead player, spawning in as the red undead in the upper right. I've casted WFZ before. He normally has like a really long Chinese name, and you can't say anything. You see much. He's taking some good maps versus some very good players. So I know WFZ, very good player, and Skyfans, if he can compete with WFZ, then I'm sure he's also a very good player as well. And we'll find out just what happens. We do have a Mountain King, looks like, coming out for Skyfans, and of course the Death Knight coming down to harass. It looks like the Skyfans just going to go for the Goblin Laboratory creep. Of course, he's getting that Arcane Tower up, blocking his base. Pretty standard. Getting the Mountain King out early, going to be an interesting choice. We'll see how that plays out in this game. Up here we can see, of course, this is a Ted Fiends build from WFZ, so we'll have to wait and see. And will he be able to get at least one steal off? He might get surrounded right here, actually. Going to go ahead and get bolted. Not going to get surrounded, though. All those militia were gone ahead and already gone, so it looks like he's going to be able to get that DK out of there just fine. And again, we're going to see just these skeletons coming in here. He's trying to kill some peasants. Killing peasants is a great thing to be doing, especially against a Mountain King. Mountain King does want to expand early usually. And of course, when you do expand with a Mountain King, you have to have towers up in your base, and you have to have towers up at the expansion just in case of a gargoyle threat. And we can see WFZ is going to go ahead and tech. Looks like he's going to be going Fiends, of course, with the Ted Fiends build. But you can transition to Gargs, and it's not a bad idea sometimes if they do a Mountain King Fast Expo to go ahead and do that, because you can deny buildings very easily with mass Gargs. Of course, the problem is once the towers go up, it's a lot harder, but that's why the timing is so important. Yeah, so as you can see, though, once you get some Fiends out, he will be able to do a little bit more harass than what he's currently doing. But if that Mountain King hits level 3, then it's going to be very difficult for level 1 DK and a couple of Fiends to actually deal with that. He's going to have to probably back off and creep some, but we'll see. It looks like he's just going to go ahead and chase those skeletons around the map, trying to delay the human player right now just by, bothering the army with those skeletons. And we do see some militia coming in, so it looks like we're going to be seeing a fast expansion from Skyfans. We do have a skeleton here, just scouting around. Scouting information, very important, especially when you are going against this sort of a play, and you kind of expected the expansion here. We can see it's coming in. There are 2 mud golems here, as well as a rock golem and 2 ensnare creeps. So there's a lot to go on here for the human army. As you can see, he's going to go ahead and chase that DK with that Mountain King and 3 footmen. That is enough to get this surround off should he bolt him. And he's going to go ahead and snipe a footman with a coil. Really nicely done there. Trying to use those skeletons to take on a militia. The militia is going to be forced to run back to the base at this point. We're probably going to see another militia going down here in just a second. Down it goes. It was attacked by that troll trapper. It had 106 life and only needs 100 to die to a coil at level 1. And yeah, so there are no more skeletons up at this point for the undead player. I'm going to go ahead and try to steal that. I'm not sure if he got the forest troll trapper. Of course, the human player certainly got the rock golem, picking up a wand of mana, stealing a really nice item to have versus the undead player. This does 2 good things for the Mountain King. 1, allows him to spam bolts a little bit more. As you can see, he gets about 50 mana. I think it's 50 mana for each one of those steals when he goes ahead and does that from the Death Knight. And it might be 75, but I think it's 50. But yeah, so he gets the mana from the Death Knight, but more importantly, does that allow him to get more bolts, and it also allows him to deny death coils. And that's a big deal because, of course, the Mountain King has so much damage. You get 225 damage from the bolt, I believe, at level 2. I'm going to go ahead and sell them. I say all these things, and then he sells the Wand of Mana Stealing, as a lot of times pros do. It seems like I always miscall that, because a lot of times I'm like, he's probably going to sell this, and then the player does, and I'm like, hey, he's probably going to use this, and then he sells it. So there you have it. But gonna go ahead and pick up Boots of Speed as well as a Staff of Teleportation and a Dust of Appearance. Dust, of course, is going to be useful in case there's Burrow. He needs that. And yeah, as you can see, gonna go ahead and use that Bolt to steal a creep himself. Preventing level 3 on this Death Knight is a big deal if you can do that. Of course, we do have down here some skeletons just harassing. Gonna be able to pick off maybe 1 or 2 peasants down there. And here we'll be able to tell just there's one peasant going down. Right after that creep has died, there's a lightning shield doing some damage to that ghoul as well as that creep, but it's not going to do anything too much ultimately. Going to be able to see another peasant going to go down right here as well, and that's probably going to be the last one now that the skeletons are about to expire, and there's an arcane tower off. So it was a nice harass nonetheless right there, just from those 2 skeletons coming down here and taking the 4 peasant count down to, or the 6 peasant count, I'm sorry, down to 4. Now up here we can see that the Mountain King being fairly aggressive, of course, going to have to run away now that that Lich is out. You don't really want to try too much to harass with just a solo Mountain King if there is a Lich and a DK out. Lich providing, of course, Frost Nova or Frost Armor. You can really do either one. Frost Armor does have its benefits because if you try to go for a Bolt and then damaging a Fiend, if you get Frost Armor on it, all your Fiends or all your footmen attacking that the Fiend with Frost Armor kind of negates a lot of the damage. It does, of course, give armor, and it does slow the footman, and that kind of is a big danger for the human player. So that is a really nice reason to go Frost Armor. Of course, sometimes you'll see Nova as well. Nova is for a little bit more aggressive play from the undead player, and here we do see some Skeleton Warriors, a nice micro by WFZ to keep them from feeding experience to the Mountain King. Of course, they're only 12 experience on each one, but 12 experience still adds up. So, you know, if I don't know how many times we've seen heroes be less than 12 experience from hitting the next level, and sometimes that can be game changing. So definitely micro your skeletons if you can. Always a good thing. First, we're going to see it looks like Frost Armor has been picked up by that Lich, going for the defensive play. We go ahead and get that coil. Hit level 3 on that Death Knight now, so that is level 2 coil, which means the footmen only have to drop below 200 HP to kill them. We can see that these tower placements, they're fairly defensive, but of course in this position with nothing right here to block for them, going to go down and be pretty easy to kill, of course, with these Fiends. Now we can see, are we going to be watching, it looks like, yes indeed, a fairly aggressive tier 2 push coming in from WFZ. This can be fairly hard to pull off. As you can see, we're going to see that it looks like a Fiend going to get surrounded, perhaps? No, he's going to get Frost Armor put on him, and that's going to force the Mountain King here to go for a different target. I'm surprised he didn't just go ahead and surround the Lich right there, to be honest. But hey, of course, the Lich has less HP, as you can see, than the Fiends, but of course, the Fiends do take extra damage from the Footman, so it does work out that way, I suppose. But surrounding a Lich can cause a lot of pressure. Of course, there's a lot of mana on that Death Knight, but if you get the right Bolt timing off, you can potentially kill the Lich. Nonetheless, as you can see, it looks like this human player is losing this fight fairly easily. As you can see, another footman going down, being sniped there by a coil. There's a statue out as well at this point, which essentially means that WFZ in a really good spot right now, and you can potentially push this tower, all of these towers down. Only 2 towers, 1 arcane tower, 1 guard tower. Not really a threat, especially with no masonry upgrades. As you can see, there's that Mountain King with that clarity. Again, about full mana on that Mountain King as well. And we're going to go ahead and see him just doing some damage to that Death Knight, but once a Frost Armor goes up, it's going to be just fine. Another Bolt, just really good usage by the Mountain King to go ahead and force these Frost Armors to be placed on the various Fiends. But as you can see, the guard tower as well as that scout tower has gone down. Only thing left now is that arcane tower. Still going to see, looks like the undead player about to break upkeep, or as he already, he may have, let me just hit F11. No, he has not actually, but he looks like he's definitely about to. Got some ziggurat, a ziggurat going up, being completed right there. Now he's going to immediately, or it looks like he was going to break, and then he canceled a unit. But hey, we can see, of course, that human player now has gone ahead and broke upkeep as well, and looks like WFZ now has indeed also broken upkeep. We can see quite a few footmen here. I would say that's 8 footmen and 3 peasants. It'll probably meant to be militia, not peasants, but hey, it happens. Of course, we have some nice wand evolutions being used by the Death Knight, providing a lot of blocking for these Fiends. He just needs to have some kind of front line for these footmen to have to run through in order to get to the Fiends and get at them, and he's done that pretty candidly with those illusions right there. A nice micro on that Crypt Fiend, getting it out of the way, far away enough when he did get bolted, and at very low HP, there was enough time for that Death Knight to go ahead and coil it. And the Death Knight still has quite a bit of mana, 258 mana. As you can see, a lot more than the Mountain King. The Mountain King only has 97. We might see a Fiend. Fiend will go down right there to that Bolt Fire. A very nice amount of focus fire. Of course, as you can see, one of the things that's happening right now is a lot of these units, a lot of these fiends have a lot of different attack targets, and that's important for the Mount King. There is the burrow being used, and that's the dust. That's the power of that dust. Going to go ahead and get another kill just because of that dust right there, and that's going to be level 4 on that Mount King. Going to see a surround potentially. No, not a complete surround on the Mountain King, almost, so enough to force the Staff of Teleportation, taking a bit of damage as he runs away now. Going to pick up a Clarity as well as a Scroll of Regeneration. Probably going to use that Scroll of Regeneration once these footmen get over here. And again, that's a lot of footmen. That is 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 footmen right here. Skyfans doing as many footmen as he can. Of course, with the Defended Footmen, he can potentially push this back, but he needs to have a proper positioning. And of course, he's not really doing too much. He has delayed the Undead's tier 3 quite a bit right now. By just, constantly taking these engagements. But as you can see, the Undead is teching right now and about to hit tier 3, so about 70% of the way through. We do have these 2 foot statues in the back now being focused by these footmen. These fiends, however, are still just kind of in here, chilling out, really not doing too much. They're just going for towers right now. So as you can see, yes, indeed, towers and peasants. He might be TPing out here soon. He's going to lose both of his statues to these footmen. Not really an ideal situation for the Undead player, but ultimately I do think he's still winning this engagement. As you can see, not really in a terrible spot whatsoever. Going to go ahead and see two fiends being burrowed there, mainly for positioning. Going to go ahead and get dusted as well. A bit of an odd choice to dust right there, but hey, I mean, if those fiends were just going to sit there, then I guess it is a great choice. But, of course, as you can see now, a Clarity is on that Mountain King. Going to go ahead and pick off another fiend with a bolt. Really nicely done, and we're going to see WFZ TPing out now. He is definitely surrounded. Probably going to go ahead and unburrow that fiend right there. Yep, and there it is. So, really nice hold by Skyfans, but again, tier 3 has been picked up now for WFZ. It's unfortunate he lost 2 statues in that engagement, because if he didn't lose any statues and he's getting destroyer form right now, then he would be able to push very soon with 3 destroyers, and that would be pretty much good game. So we'll have to wait and see how this plays out. But once again, level 4 on that Mountain King, level 4 on the Death Knight, and level 3 on the Lich. It's looking pretty good for the Undead player. I'm gonna go ahead and see the Death Knight being surrounded with a bolt immediately. Of course, he does have frost armor on him, and he does have a potion of lesser invulnerability, so he can go ahead and get out of that surround just with a bit of focus fire. Mountain King knowing it's not worth doing an all or nothing push right there on that Death Knight because of that item and because of the frost armor. Plus, if we look, we can see he probably has never mind. I was like, he probably has Death Pack, but no, he doesn't. He has Unholy Aura level 2 and Death Coil level 2. A lot of times you will see Death Pack being picked up against super strong focus fire strategies, such as Mountain King first, but you don't always have to have it. And honestly, I would say WFZ has done a really good job and definitely hasn't really needed it. Now is when he's at his most vulnerable. But of course, as you can see, he's pulled 2 ghouls using skeletons as well, just to go ahead and get into this peasant line, killing those peasants now that there are no towers up, and using his fiends to go ahead and deal with these footmen and the Mountain King. So WFZ doing a really good job right now, being really tight and keeping control of this flow of this battle. Of course, there's no more dust on that Mountain King. Just going to put 2 skeletons onto that Mountain King to go ahead and give himself a lot of control right there, and the GG is called by Skyfans. So that's game 1 of the WLW Best of 3 series between WFZ and Skyfans. Hopefully you enjoyed it. That map was Amazonia. And if you'd like to watch game 2, just click right over here, and I will hopefully see you guys there.